Hello, I'm Dale Matthews, and I'm also Mike Jones, and I'm joined by Anonymous today. Hello, Anonymous.
Yes, I'll dispute you on that one.
Okay, well, you can be both of us then.
Yeah, no thanks.
Okay, all right. Hey, so
enough problem being myself.
oh, that's definitely true. Everybody knows that too. So I just got out a few minutes ago of a meeting of Lipsick. They handed out trial versions, and I found that purple looked best on me. At the last meeting of local public safety coordinating council, the council decided, and Keithek and the commissioners decided as well, in the subsequent meeting, that they would not take it up to this idea of the governor taking over parts of our services here, not take it to the governor personally, but that they would hand it off to 2 state reps and a state senator, and that they would march up there with the banner saying, "Please come down and take over." So we heard today from those 3, and we're going to play footage for you on another show, but you'll just have to take my word for it that what happened was that Representative Dwayne Stark and Representative Carl Wilson and State Senator Herman Bertschiger said in no uncertain terms, absolutely not. We will not support this idea. This idea is a bad one. We've read through it, and have you really read through this? I mean, it's got all these problems in it. And by the way, each of them said, have you thought about talking with the people? Have you consulted the people? What about a vote of the people? What about the people? Well, shouldn't the people be? What about the people? So what was ironic at the end is, just like last time, somebody from the audience said, will you be taking any comments from the people? Oh, no, we would never do that now. Okay, I know I'm not supposed to speak out without permission. I just couldn't help it. And I said, there is the basis of your problem, gentlemen. You've just heard what they said. You just advised them to go to the people. They're not going to go to the people. Case closed.
Yeah.
Okay. Have it your way. Boy, Darren Fowler was hopping mad, buddy. He's still blaming the county commissioners for not biting the bullet and killing themselves. Yeah.
Well, and right before that, he was blaming the people for not being dumb enough to, vote for the sales tax too. So, who cares what Darren Fowler says?
Well, also, who cares what Catherine Austin says. She joined us in a meeting a couple of days ago, and she read from a letter that she wrote to the editor of the Illinois Valley News. And what had happened, she wrote a letter, and he objected to the letter. This is Dan Mancuso, because the letter, one, said something positive about the candidates forum put on by Inside News and run by Mike Jones. I'm not going to allow anything positive about that, because he's got one coming up and you can't allow that. And second, it said something positive about Inside News. Well, they're not going to allow that in this newspaper. And third, it said something positive about me. So no way, you've got to change your letter to the editor. I don't like this letter to the editor. So she came on and she read her letter to the editor and basically just read it straight. We asked her to do so. She did a great job. Well, apparently somebody alerted him that she had done this, and he sent her an email saying that he was going to put her amended letter, not mentioning Inside News or the candidates forum, the successful one that we put on. But now that she said anything about what he said, well, I guess you know what I'm going to do with your letter.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I find that petty and vindictive, and I don't like it. But
yeah, as I've said before, and listen, you can take this any way you want to. I believe that if she had gone on the IV News and said the same thing about something that she was intending to inject as content into our show, the reaction would have been the same. So, whereas I will tell you, Dan Mancuso and I, probably both complete opposite ends of the political spectrum, but this is the kind of stuff that happens. And I mean, you could have predicted this easily.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is that we put people on this show all the time that we don't agree with. We let them say their thing. Why not let them say their thing? Okay. Yeah. That's not going to happen in the IV News. Okay. Well, okay. There you go. So, we're going to play back yet another episode of the continuing drama of 2 weeks ago, the candidates forum that was held in Illinois Valley. And tonight's guest is Sandy Casanelli, and she will speak for about 10 and a half minutes, uninterrupted by us and without comment. Sandy Casanelli.
Yeah, we're going to need a camera adjustment on this one.
Yes. Mic adjustment. Can you see me? Well, I'm going to bring up the rear here with the American Merchant Marine. So bravo, the World War II vets for the Rogue Valley chapter. Anyways, my name is Sandy Casanelli, and I go to a lot of the weekly business sessions and voice my opinion, which, sorry, Harriet, is a downer most of the time because we have to say no sometimes. But this really bothered me, what's happening now. You say, be careful of who you choose because the city's going to take over the county. Believe me, the city mentality has already taken over the county with the current board that we have here. And the biggest betrayal was what they are doing to invite the governor to take over our county. This is against our county charter, Section 2, which solely gives the granted authority to run our county to the commissioners. And they are willingly abdicating that responsibility. This is against the will of the people. 8 times since 2004, we have voted down taxing districts or levies. And this is an attempt to circumvent the will of the majority of the people. When I was in office for 3 years, those 3 years, we did not have a levy or a taxing district go before countywide before the electorate. I think they were scared to bring it up. But, to expect the county citizens to replace what is the funds that are being reneged on by the federal government is totally insane, in my opinion. It's unbelievable that we have not done as Lynn County has done, take a stance. They took a stance against the state over the forest trust lands. We should have been doing this with the federal government years ago. And this is probably the #1 priority that I think Josephine County should be doing. This waiting on Simon Hare, Commissioner Hare, and the Association of ONC Counties is going nowhere. It is a total waste of money. There's a lot of things, I could go on and on, but I just want to do a little positive, maybe, some things on what I did when I was in office. We had a situation at the airports that the other 2 commissioners, Dwight Ellis and Dave Toller, didn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. So who did they stick it with is the new kid on the block, which was me. And something, through a lot of hard work, I corrected a very bad situation at our county airports. And the thing that was most dear to my heart is I negotiated heavily to get the smoke jumpers to have a museum at the Ivy Airport. The county council, the county commissioners, the former airport managers wanted to bulldoze over those buildings, and it was ludicrous. Here we had the smoke jumpers, who were a hardworking bunch of guys. They had the desire to renovate those buildings, and they did it with one. And like I said, I advocated heavily in order to get those leases implemented. I served on the BOPTA board for 2 years. I don't think any commissioner since has been on that board. I guess it's just too much work. And I advocated for court remodels when I first went in there. They didn't want to even paint or paper the courthouse, and they were pretty deplorable. But what I opposed was more important than what I did. I opposed the Paradise Ranch boondoggle. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of county money went into that boondoggle. Now the North Valley Industrial Park is pretty much the Paradise Ranch too. I opposed the canola fiasco. What a waste of money. I opposed the SOAR-ready 5-year strategic plan for the county when they wanted to have a county manager and more commissioners. Something, the county manager is unelectable by the people. It takes away our, ability to take away any bad situations. I've gone to AOC where there's all different types of governance. There's 3 commissioners, 5 commissioners, 7 commissioners, part-time commissioners, and I got the hook. Anyways, I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for Sandy?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing this, the charter indicates that you should be paid $30,000 a year. Is there a method to recoup what the current commissioners have paid themselves illegally over the past several years?
I don't know about that, but I'm going to tell you my opinions about this. Be careful of campaign rhetoric, because when I was in office, I was making $73,000 a year, and my tax burden was about $22,000. So right off the bat, that would mean I was going to work for $7,000 or $8,000 a year. Plus, I had to pay $2,000 for medical and dental. I did, but I didn't pay any, I didn't take one single dime for medical. I went to naturopaths where I paid for it myself. I contributed $6,000 for the 3 years to my medical plan, and I used $2,000 for eyeglasses and a partial. So the county really made out when I was in there. I also, my first year, I paid back every single cent of money that was contributed to me. It came to $10,000. And I gave away 20% the first year to different people, various organizations. So when you consider the fact that you're going to have to pay more than 20% just in taxes, it's, in my opinion, it's not prudent to say you're going to strictly follow the charter when it's practically impossible to do that. When I tell these people, well, you're going to take $30,000, but you're going to have a $22,000 liability for paying taxes. They says, I want the $30,000 plus the $22,000, in pay. I mean, that's already up to, $52,000. So, I don't believe, I won't do it. I will not do it, just because fiscally it's not sound, especially when the commissioners are responsible for, as Bill said, like $80 million. And we have employees. One employee in particular was just given a 5-grade pay raise. At the end of her step, she will make as much as a commissioner, and she manages a $210,000 budget a year and is closed on Fridays, open to the public only 1 day a week, and by appointment for the other 3.
Thanks.
We need
another
to
quick
scale
question
back
for Sandy?
everything. Sorry, we need to scale back everything.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Hi. My question has to do with oath of office. I've seen a lot of people in the past who volunteered with nonprofit organizations, and also even some people that serve in the military, that said they took their oath of office very seriously. But I've actually seen by example that they did not. Your oath of office is, I'm sure, is very serious. When you do, if you become county commissioner, Your oath of office, you'll also make sure that the judges and the sheriffs and deputies in your county here, make sure they understand their oath of office and they sign within 30 days, that oath of office that's supposed to be signed within 30 days of taking office?
We sign our oath of office at the same time we're being sworn in. And I don't have the authority over other elected officials about doing that. I'm hoping that they would. I can tell you that I did take my oath of office seriously, because when an emergency operation plan came across my desk and it took away the public's right to be compensated, I would not vote for it. In the emergency operation plan, it says that the county could take resources without compensation, and I wouldn't sign it. So I take my oath seriously.
Thanks, Sandy.
Yep.
Okay. No more questions.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Afterwards, me.
Okay.
Sandy Castanelli. Thank you.
So, yesterday, Keith Eck was on KMED, and he's never been on KMED before, and he talked with the host there, Bill Meyer, and I talked briefly to Bill afterwards, and I said, so now you know who Keith Eck is? He said, yes, I do. So here is Keith Eck's appearance on KMED, and it'll be appended by comments from Mike Jones, and Dale Matthews. Thank you. Here we go. Nope. Now here we go.
6:36. Haven't had the pleasure to speak yet to Josephine County Commissioner Keith Eck. Happy to welcome him to the program. Welcome, Commissioner. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you too. Appreciate your call.
All right. So, Keith, here it is. Been talking with folks in Josephine County about various news. Not many of them supportive of the Josephine County Commission, as you well know. But here it is, election time, and so this is when all the stuff comes out, and people are starting to decide whether or not they wanted to vote for you for re-election, right? That's what you're running for at this point. So a few questions first off, and what do you believe is the state of Josephine County right now as far as law enforcement, as far as economic development? Kind of give us your take from sitting in the big chair right now.
Law enforcement, we're a challenge to the maximum economic development. We have done such in the past, and we're continuing to do so, and individually, corporately, with the different individuals. But obviously, it's hard to have a rosy picture of economic development when we have such a challenged law enforcement system.
So, what role does the challenged law enforcement have to do with economic development? Is there a way to directly tie that?
Well, if you were a businessman and you wanted to move out into the county and start a business that had 10 people or whatever, and you have to hire your own security, or you have to make sure that you have lights on and people walking around all 24 hours a day, that is not real conducive to people that are willing to invest money.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I could concede that point there. Now, a question I would have then is, when was it decided that law enforcement, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's not really funded this way, how is law enforcement funded even right now as we speak? How do you pay for the sheriff's department?
In Josephine County, it comes out of the general fund. Okay,
out of the general fund. So that's the way it comes out of Jackson County too. Out of curiosity, why don't we just have, I think here's it. It's obvious that people have not been much in a mood to increase their taxes in Josephine County. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But what, 8-9 times that yes. The commission has gone to the voters, and 8-9 times they've.
Well, we've not. The last 2 times that has not been from the commissioners directly. It's been by citizen initiative.
Yeah, but certainly the commissioners would be supportive of that. They get that part, right?
Sure, I'm sure.
Okay.
Okay, a little bit more than that. The last 2 times, you've seen the videos, Keith Eck said, well, okay, it's a paraphrase, obviously, but we spent your money, county money, on gathering statistics to turn over to the Citizens-Based Initiative Group, Cuffs and SOS. at the request of the commissioners. They started the ball rolling. So to say that they weren't involved in this and that no money has been spent and that they weren't an essential part of this is just false.
Well, and for those who are new to our situation, echo here. For those that are new, cuffs and SOS are essentially just, little arms of local government anyway, as their core is made up of city and county employees. All the people in
leadership positions.
Leadership positions are government insiders. So it's not at all. It's completely disingenuous to say that these are citizen groups. They are made up of citizens. That's where the similarity to an actual grassroots citizens movement ends. So
at today's lip sync, it was suggested a couple of times. Well, maybe we should turn all this over to, I don't know, some kind of citizens group. Yeah. Gee, I wonder who they have in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
More from Keith Heck.
So why don't we switch tactics here, fully fund law enforcement out of the 58 cents or whatever your basic property tax rate is right now, and then run levy requests to run the rest of Josephine County government? Has there ever been any talk about doing that? Because here in Jackson County, not saying that we're any great shakes, but we're not going to the people for the operating costs of a sheriff department in the jail.
What is the tax rate of taxes in the property tax in Jackson County?
The basic one is $2 at a penny. Your typical homeowner, though, in Medford is more around $15 per thousand.
Right. We pay 58 cents a thousand.
Right.
That's the property tax level in Josephine County.
Yeah, it's a little disingenuous.
Well, he's not answering the question, is he? He changed the subject.
Yeah. I mean, the problem there is that I don't pay 58 cents a thousand. I mean, I pay 58 cents a thousand, but I pay a whole bunch of stuff on top of that. And he's making it sound as though that's all we're paying. And over in Jackson County, if they're paying $15 a thousand, wow, what a bunch of suckers.
Yes.
That's incredible. I think the top end here is what, like $6, $7, $8 maybe at the high end. Wow. If some of those people are paying $15 a thousand, oh man.
And some of this is about economic development. Why in heaven's name? Well, we already know the answer. You all know the answer. Why am I asking you? You know the answer. The audience. Why don't we say to people and companies, come to Josephine County? We have the lowest tax rate of the whole state.
Of course. Well, and I thought it was a fantastic idea what Bill proposed there, that why don't you fully fund the sheriff's office and then do levies for the rest of government? And of course, we know what the answer of that is that no one has any sympathy for the rest of government. If some pencil pusher is not making his, $68,000 a year, nobody's going to care, and so they have to hit you where they have leverage.
He's getting that straight from our show, straight from this, because I talked to him about it. And I said it also a couple of days ago. He's getting it straight from us. He's getting it from you, the citizens of Josephine County. Why aren't we doing it this way? Why don't we put up planning, or why don't we put up the assessor's department? Because nobody would vote for that, and they wouldn't have any leverage over us to try to force us to do things. Well, they don't have to worry about that anymore, because they're not going to even ask us anymore. They're just going to do it.
Yeah, right. I mean, at some point, though, you would have to, the people would have to go, okay, there are certain things that have to be funded. I like the idea because it would ultimately eliminate a lot of superfluous stuff, like, it's funny. I'm watching Channel 5 this morning, and they were doing a news story on the fact that they're about to open the sobering center. Well, the sobering center, it sounds like a wonderful thing, you know.
An emergency? Is it an emergency?
Yeah, but here, hang on just a second. Let me finish the thought.
Right.
You know, I mean, the sobering center conjures, you know, a nostalgia of the Andy Griffith show. And what was the name of that guy that would come into the jail and just kind of put himself to bed?
Otis.
Otis. Yeah.
Otis.
Right. Yes. And
and now he's replaced by POTUS. That's an inside joke.
Okay. So now people go, well, you know, what's your problem with the sobering center? The sobering center is funded by a grant. Yeah, it's funded by a grant for a short period of time, and then it's expected to be swallowed up by county government, which you know damn well it will. And then it's going to be funded by us. So, you know, I mean, these people aren't watching their pennies at all. They're not mindful of that stuff. So the thing is that you wouldn't have a sobering center. You wouldn't have a lot of stuff. You would have the core things that absolutely have to be there. You'd have records. You'd have the planning department. You would have
tape tracks. You would have those little cassette tape things. Records. Sorry, Mike.
Well, anyway, I was trying to.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was trying to impart that you would have the core functions of government, and the rest of the stupid stuff you wouldn't have.
That's correct.
But we're not having any of that.
No, they would never put up county government. The rest of county government would never let you vote on that because they know what your vote would be. And like I was saying before, they don't even want your vote now on anything. That's mostly led by the city council. That'd be Dan DeYoung and Roy Lindsay and Mayor Darren Fowler. They're the ones, you know, setting the pace here. They've had it up to here with votes. They don't want any more votes. And Darren Fowler was fit to be tied today, buddy, because they're not forcing this on us. Doesn't look and the feedback he got from the state reps. Well, why aren't you going to the people about this? It was hilarious to watch their reaction.
Well, and listen, it may well be that their inboxes have gotten a bit of feedback from people about this, and the supporters of it. I mean, it's odd. I don't know where you find supporters of it. I'm sure that there's a few, and some of them have showed up, you know, at a weekly business session, one or two people here or there. And there's some people that would like to have this rammed down the people's throat because they're into that sort of thing. But I'd say by and large, probably legislators, if they're getting feedback on this at all, it's probably negative.
It's another bad idea that's originated with the city council. You can do something about that in November. Another bad city council idea.
Sure like to have some time to vet whoever is running against Mr. Fowler for mayor.
Brother. Keithek.
Brings in approximately about $4 million, a little shy of that, but about, for round figures, about $4 million.
About $4 million, and your typical sheriff's deputy is going to be about $100,000 a year in order to
round figures.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're suggesting that we have a sheriff's department and don't have any other operations, or what are you?
Well, no.
Okay.
I'm just raising the question. All right, that perhaps you have 10 sheriff's deputies in a jail, whatever it is, out of a million, you take 25% out of, or 30%, and then maybe you don't have as much planning. Maybe you don't have as much DHS. I'm just asking the question, what might be other ways of going about it? Because I would be willing to bet you that a lot of those Josephine County voters might not want to vote for operating funds to have more planning agents there too, you know, that sort of thing. I'm just trying to figure out what the lay of the land is there. And why don't we fund law enforcement first? It's kind of like the legislature. The legislature always holds the school hostage. Why would we hold law enforcement hostage too? What is your take on that?
What if you had to fund only one aspect of your radio station down there, Bill, which one would it be?
Oh, that's stupid.
What? Yes, it is.
That's just dumb. It's not the same at all. One's a private organization funded by people in business with a profit motive. The other one is, public safety for citizens who pay taxes. It's not the same.
Now, what Darren Fowler said today at this LIPSIC meeting was that the city council and the mayor are being held hostage. Same words, by the
whatever.
Held hostage by the county voters.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, that's another way of saying that I hate the citizens. Yeah. The citizens in our county are all moronic idiots. And if we could just overrule their thinking, everything would be so much better.
What did the city finance director, and he's also head of SOS, what did he say? Don't go to the people. Why are you going to the people with this? I'm not kidding. That's what he said. Don't go to the people for a vote on this. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah. And we're donkeys too.
I got to do something about that.
Okay.
No, not well. That would certainly be part of it. There, you have to have more than one. But I'm not saying only pay for law enforcement. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But it would seem that that first and foremost, the reason for Josephine County to exist in the first place would be for public safety. That's the first reason that we end up constituting these governments. So, what could you do as county commission just to say, hey, the public safety is first if this is all that important?
Well, the largest part, I mean, $7 million, roughly figure, $7 million of our budget every year. And that counts the grants that come out from different programs, goes to operate the sheriff's department now.
How many millions now?
About 7 million.
About 7 million.
Yes.
How many deputies do we have on the streets right now?
I think it's 42.
Okay.
What?
I think it's 42.
And we're in a crisis mode with that?
Not anywhere close.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's right either.
Fine, but we're dancing into the great abyss here in a year and a half.
What happens in a year and a half? I'm sorry to plead ignorance here, since I don't.
No, we will lose whatever federal funding that might come down. I mean, the secure rural schools money is drying up, and there's no proposals to vote it. And that'll.
What was that he just said?
Yeah, that's silly. I mean, we've addressed that on a number of occasions. But the interesting thing here about Heck is that you notice that he is growing more and more impatient, and he's just like a crotchety old cantankerous. Get off my lawn! Damn it! I told you how much I'm paying to maintain that lawn. Get off of my lawn! And I think Bill is asking good questions, but he already has Bill pegged as the enemy here. So he's treating him like a hostile witness.
Well, it's one of the reasons he never went on the show before. Cheryl went on one time.
Yeah.
She's never been back. And I don't think Keith is going to ever be back. Yeah. So
a loss of about $4 million, roughly, about $4 million, $3.5 million. And so that's when the real chasm is we're staring into.
So you're not, in other words, we don't really have a crisis right now. You're looking at the real crisis as in 2017, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This next fiscal year, 16-17, we should be able to continue as we are right now.
As we are right now. Okay.
Now, there's a little problem with this too. It's just one of those little problems. He has said on previous meetings that we do have a crisis right now. And he just told Bill Meyer on the radio that we don't have a crisis right now. Keith, which is it?
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, this is this thing that they are saying, like at the LIPSIC thing there, is that it is a crisis or it's an imminent crisis.
No, he's also said it is a crisis right now. And
but
it's going to be a crisis.
You can't hold these people to what they say, Dale. Come on.
You and I are held to what we say all the time. And we hang it out there every night.
Dale hangs it out there. My pants are on.
Yeah, well, nobody will know. No, but I won't tell them your secret. Stand by.
Okay.
So if we end up having secure rural school funding completely going away, how much of a hole does that blow in your budget right now? Because SRS has not been a great amount of money even recently, from what I recall.
Well, no, it'll represent a loss of about $4 million.
$4 million. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's serious then. All right. That's a serious problem.
Out of a $7 million department, it's darn serious.
Now, do you really think that they're going to let it go away? I know that we have 22, 23 House representatives that are right now working on getting this renewed permanently.
That's
what would
right.
you say to that?
Well, it would be nice if they could. I just have a fundamental intrinsic issue of having to suckle on the federal teat continually. Why can't we be released to do our own work here or cut wood or that kind of thing?
Yeah,
Because you won't do anything about that. That's why.
That's correct. That's why. That's exactly right.
I want to see a copy of one piece of correspondence that Keith Heck has sent to any federal legislator about renewing O&C operations. And I'm not talking about just payments, because you know what? He is right. SRS is being paid out like an entitlement, and ultimately that will be the rationale for them cutting it off entirely at some point. But the O&C money, the O&C contract, which dictates sustainable harvest and sharing of timber revenues, that is something that they can't really get around unless they rescind the law. And they haven't done that yet. And I would venture a guess that they're going to have to deal with us. And here's the thing. All of us in these counties where the federal government owns most of it, we have a tax base that may be, as small as 10% of the land in the county that's taxable at normal property tax rates instead of something infinitesimally low like timber resource properties. So there's ultimately if they say you guys can never cut timber again, and they don't give us O&C money, then ultimately the only thing that they have left is taxing the people. And without resources, what you would do ultimately, if this is what came to pass, you would run all of the people out of this town that didn't come here with retirement money. And that's all you would have in this community, because there wouldn't be, a great deal of employment. You'd have restaurants and you'd have stores, which is kind of the direction that it's heading to now. And you'd have a hospital and its sub-services, which is kind of what you have now. And you wouldn't have anything else, and you wouldn't have any poor people living here because, so much for the compassion on this side of the federal government. So unless our commissioners are pursuing that from the federal government, you're never going to see any of it. And I challenge him to show one piece of correspondence. Just show me one. That shows you asking, of federal or even state legislatures hey, can you help us out with this O&C thing? No, none of them. I'll bet you Simon doesn't even do that, and he's Mr. O&C.
Well, one of the ways you can compare what they're doing with what we're doing on this show. Every night we're here suggesting solutions, and we're saying, would you please send letters out to these guys? You could send them out to the governor. You could send them out to our state, our U.S. senators. You could send them out to the president or the BLM. You could blank
all of the above, for God's sake.
And you send them all out, and you send them out every week, if not every day, and you keep bugging them and bugging them and bugging them and bugging them. Isn't that what we do? Aren't we there every Wednesday and saying this stuff and watching them and talking about it and talking to the TV stations and telling everybody that we can? But they're not willing to put in that kind of work, and Mike and I do it for free. And
it's the Shawshank Redemption philosophy here.
Tell them that again, Mike. That's a wonderful,
good one.
Wonderful
Well, no, it's just, I mean, everybody has seen that movie because it's a great movie. And I forget the character's name. It doesn't really matter.
He's operating as a librarian.
Yeah, and he gets unjustly convicted of a murder, and he gets put in prison. And after he gets done feeling sorry for himself, he decides, well, I'm going to assist the library in expanding into something so that it can serve the prisoners better. And so he starts writing letters out to organizations and government officials and things of that nature, asking them for money for to help with the library. And he sends a letter to them every single week, and they keep sending him rejection, saying no, or they don't answer him at all. But as soon as he got an answer from one of them, then he starts writing 2 letters a week to that same person, and ultimately gets all kinds of funding and all kinds of good things that come there. Why
did he get funding? Because they were tired of hearing from him.
Right, exactly. They wanted this guy off their back, and of course, I mean, the moral of that story is one that's been around, as long as I've been around, and probably a whole lot longer. Is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Unless you are complaining, unless you are a problem to them, you're not going to get anywhere. Now, there's a couple of things that get things done in Washington. Money. That greases everything. But also, if you're just sticking in somebody's craw all the time, or you're a burr under their saddle all the time, they will ultimately at some point do something. It may be some surface level lip service to your cause, but the bottom line is that you're going to get more out of them by doing that. You will get nothing by kissing their rear end. And that is what our commissioners are doing right now. Our commissioners, they subscribe to this philosophy that the federal government is superior, and hey, if they're not going to give it, we're just going to have to do with whatever they give us. And boy, sure would be rude if we got angry with them. You know what? Listen, I found in the landlord business, and there may be some people that have some objection to this, but I grew up in that business. We had rentals the whole time, ever since I was a kid. If you ever made friends with your tenant, and by the way, there are some exceptions to this rule. There are some tenants that you can be friends with because they have a code in their heart that says, I take care of my business. And that is completely separate from this sort of thing. And we had tenants that we had the entire time. I mean, there was one guy that was there almost the entire time from when I was a very young man up until we got rid of the place. And that was like 30 years. So the bottom line is that if you allow people to take advantage of you, they will. If you don't, if the tenant doesn't understand that, hey, listen, I have a mortgage to pay and you must pay me that. And if you don't, I'm going to respond right away with the legal action that I must take in order to, put somebody into that place that is going to help me pay the mortgage, because I have the same problem you do. You have to pay your rent. I have to pay a mortgage payment to somebody who's going to take my property away if you don't do so. So the bottom line is that you had to take a hard line with people who, pushed to take advantage of you. Now, the federal government is pushing to take advantage. Why is there no pushback? I learned early on in the process, because I learned how to manage. And when I was a young man, I take a hard line with these people. I go, listen, you know what? You are asking to borrow money from me. Well, you're not asking. You're borrowing money from me without asking. And now you are forcing me to give you a loan for which you will pay no interest until you finally decide to pay me. How is that fair? Well, we don't take a hard line with the federal government at all. any of these guys, and you know, Simon is very impressive, very impressive. He can rattle it off. Boy, does that guy have the gift of gab. Does he ever accomplish anything? Absolutely not. The guy has nothing on his resume that is impressive at all in the ONC realm. You know, and this organization, the organization of ONC counties, show me what they've done. I want to see it. You know, so the bottom line is, if these people are not advocating for you, then stop paying them money.
Now, just look at
ridiculous.
Just look at the results that Mike and I get, and some of you get out there.
I don't know about that.
Simon is not going to run again. That's what he says. Cheryl Walker is not up for re-election. Keith Heck is marginalized as a candidate. We went after these guys because they were lying to us, and we caught them, each of them, dead to rights, on tape, straight out, flat out lying to us. And we didn't like that, and we followed your advice, and we kept on them. They are now no longer going to be the commissioners. Depending on how this next vote turns out, Simon Hare could be marginalized. He'd still be, you know, still listen to him. He's elected. He won't have any positions to do anything, any bad things to the county. Now, only thing that we're watching for is what kind of poison pill are they going to force on us. But we've put pressure on these guys. We're bringing down the county government, not because all government's bad, because these guys are bad.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't necessarily jump to conclusions about Simon Hare and what his political future is. I think he's telling us now he's not going to run again, but he also knows that, you know, a year or two passing, and a lot of people forget about the stupid stuff that you did the last time, you know, like him going out and getting drunk. Well, people hardly remembered what he did the year before, and that was the Doug Deakins, you know, sex texting thing. And then there was a couple years before that, he got drunk and left his vehicle somewhere, and people forgot all about that and reelected him. So what he says now about what his, I don't believe him for one minute.
He has a proven track record of lying. And you guys know, I mentioned it many times, I brought a tape to the meeting to play back, and he cut the microphone off. First time that's ever happened. That was the first time. But we're going to say goodbye to these guys. And Simon won't be allowed to do some of the things he would like to do now, depending on who the two commissioners are. It depends on how wishy-washy the other person is. We'll see. But here's Keith Heck putting on a charm offensive.
Beyond that. Cutting wood and being more, you know, proactive in that.
Sure. Sure.
What could you do about that, though, in the meantime? Because I think you have these competing interests right now, because your taxpayers have been telling you time and time again, we just say no, no, no. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you're looking at SRS funding that's going to be drying up. What could you let go of in Josephine County government right now that maybe people would be okay with and still keep public safety in case SRS doesn't go through and you don't get people to tax themselves more? I understand the problem, really.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. I mean, we can't overlook the fact that many of the parks, the fairgrounds, those issues don't take any money out of the general fund. Mm-hmm. They are self-supporting programs.
All right. We've run out of time, but that's a lot of BS too. We are sinking a lot of money into the fairgrounds. Not saying I don't like fairgrounds, but we do a lot for the fairgrounds right out of your pocket, and you don't know. I know because I sit in on the meetings. We got all kinds of money going to them. Not saying that they're not nice people, but that's exactly what we're doing. So don't see, this is where the problem happens. It's just started, well, you know, that sounds kind of reasonable until you know the facts behind it. And you go, the guy's lying to us again. It is a lie. What he just told you is not true.
Yeah, and he should know. Isn't he the liaison to the fair board?
He is. That's right. Yes, he is. Well, there you go. See, that's the basic problem. If you've got people who are basically honest, and another super important thing, they're not going to change after 6 months. once they're sucked into the vortex of that county courthouse. Odd place for bad things to happen in a courthouse, although there are a lot of people who think that's not odd. In Josephine County, if they can withstand being assembled into the Borg, and they can keep their integrity. Now I'm getting depressed. Is that possible? Well, with a couple of people it is. If they do that, then the basic fallback position, the default position of lying your way out of troubles will not even be an option. Then at least we can deal with what the facts are. The facts may be pretty dismal, but we're not getting the facts because of things like this. He's willing to say this. It's not true. Now what do you do? Watch our show all the time. We'll try to make the next one more uplifting. Woo.